Hi everyone, I am Steph Strickland. You are watching Sun and Fun Aerospace Expo TV. Thank you so much for being here with us. I want to introduce you now to our guest, Kollin Stagnito with AOPA. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Happy to be here.
Busy?
Oh yeah, it's a busy and warm. Sunny.
Yes, very warm and humid. You mentioned you have a huge team here. We're talking dozens of people. Tell me a little bit about what AOPA hopes to accomplish during Sun and Fun.
Well, first of all, for anybody who doesn't know, AOPA is the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association. We have over
I think everybody knows, don't they?
Okay, well, I don't know, most do, but every year, last year there were 56,000 new student pilots. Those student pilots may or may not know, so I just want to make sure they understand Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association, 300,000 members, and I would say first and foremost, we are here to talk to current pilot members and to the student pilots and prospective members, anybody who's interested in aviation, in fact, because we want to find out what's on their mind. We're primarily an advocacy association, so we want to advocate for their rights to fly, preserve their freedom to fly in the United States.
I am a student pilot and a member, so
I love
Thank you. So I had no trouble finding you guys, so it's a wonderful organization. Tell me about the big story this week for AOPA.
There are, I would say, two big stories that we're super excited about over at what we call our campus, the AOPA 10. And number one is that we are going to be auctioning an extra 300L airplane. That's an aerobatic airplane, but it was owned by sort of a celebrity, Bruce Williams, who worked at Microsoft and was one of the developers of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Oh. And so he's owned this airplane. He had owned this airplane for decades, and actually it was put into Microsoft Flight Simulator as one of the airplanes that you could fly. Now it's going to be sold in just a couple days. Friday at 1 p.m. The auction, online auction, is going to end, and somebody is going to own this celebrity airplane. So it's fun, it's exciting, and we can't wait to see who the new winner is.
And a really nice airplane at that. That's incredible.
It's an amazing airplane. We've done upset recovery training in it, and we've done aerobatic training in it, and that's what Bruce wanted us to do on behalf of the AOPA's Air Safety Institute. So, and then the other equally exciting opportunity is that every year we have a sweepstakes airplane.
I love these. I always enter.
Yeah,
I never win, but I always enter.
This is our 26th sweepstakes airplane that we are going to give away to a pilot. You have to be a pilot to win, and you have to live in the United States to win. But other than that, it's going to be completely free. This time we bought a 1953 Cessna 170B. Beautiful tailwheel airplane, and it needed a lot of love, and it's getting it. We just installed a brand new Continental Prime IO370 fuel-injected engine, 195 horsepower where the stock was 145.
That's a nice little upgrade.
It's an amazing. We're making it into a backcountry beast. It's got this amazing constant speed Hartzell propeller. But the cool part about it is that all you have to do is be a member or be a pilot and go to AOPA.org/sweeps. There are other ways that you can enter. You don't have to be a member. And somebody at the end of the year, maybe January of 2024, is going to get surprised at their home airport when we pull up with this totally refurbished airplane that they're going to be able to own. We love doing that. You
mentioned backcountry. Boy, that is just all the rage right now. It feels the way that snowboarders were back in the 90s. I am dating myself, I know this. But it does. It feels that way, right? It's incredibly sexy and interesting. And so when you mentioned that backcountry beast, I was like, oh yeah, that's very hot right now.
Everybody likes adventure sports today. Yes, they like watching it on YouTube as well. And so something as dynamic as an airplane that can take off and land within 300 feet, get into these tiny little grass strips anywhere in the country, it's so much fun to watch that. Not every pilot yet has that skill level, but they can work up toward it, and everybody dreams of being able to do that. It's just as much fun as it looks.
Yeah, it really sounds like it. I want to talk to you about your advocacy team. So I'm on a lot of student pilot forums, and I constantly see people talking about either medical issues where they want to reach out to AOPA for advice. You do so much work in the space. What are the big things that AOPA is tracking from an advocacy standpoint?
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, we have a huge commitment to advocacy. In fact, we have an entire office in Washington, D.C. with a staff of about 12 or 13 down there working issues every single day. And clearly the biggest issue that we have is the need to transition from 100 leaded fuel, low lead fuel,
Oh, yeah.
to 100 octane unleaded fuel. And it's not super simple. There is one fuel right now, the GAMI fuel, that has an STC that applies to almost every single piston-powered airplane in America. But commercializing it and getting it out to all of the airports, over 5,000 public use airports in the United States, that's the heavy lift right now. So that is a really, really big focus for the team. There are others, however. You've heard for years have us talk about transparency and FBO pricing. So we want to make sure that when pilots fly to other airports, they know what kind of fees are going to be charged when they land there. And we've made a lot of progress on that. A lot of FBOs, Signature, Atlantic, and others have now become transparent and put their fees up online, and so that's been a big win for us. But not everybody has done it, so we won't rest until those fees are transparent across the board.
You mentioned something. I want to go back to the fuel issue, just because I know that there is at least the specter of legislation to try to force this through. And I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, AOPA's position is we all want this.
Yeah.
We don't need to legislate it. We will figure it out. Legislating only creates more bureaucracy and theoretically slows the process down. Everyone wants. No one is saying this is a terrible idea.
Yeah.
They're just saying let us figure out how to do this properly.
That's right. We are advocating for a safe and smart transition,
yes,
which means that there has to be enough time to put the infrastructure in place so that we have fuel that can power every piston engine aircraft. Mm-hmm. And if we try to rush, what's going to happen is that, potentially, if it's legislated out of existence, 100 low lead is legislated out of existence, we're going to be in a position where 30% of the fleet that uses 70% of the avgas may not have a fuel that's appropriate for them. We're concerned that some pilots might want to put a lower octane fuel in the airplane, or worse, a MOGAS or something like that, that could be a real safety of flight issue. So we are, Mark Baker, our CEO, is co-chair of a committee that is working with industry so that we are industry first on this solution. We are working with the FAA and showing them that we have a plan in place to make sure that this unleaded fuel is available to everybody by 2030.
Perfect. You talked about this. You used the word safe and smart, granted in this context, but I want to use it in a different context. We are really experiencing very safe flying as general aviation is concerned. Tell me a little bit about how AOPA has had a hand in that.
Yeah, well, so I thank you to all the pilots out there who are flying very safely. We'd like to think that we have a little bit to do with that with our Air Safety Institute that puts out videos and instructional information every day. We concentrate on unfortunate accidents,
yes,
and we look at what went wrong, and we try to give tips for how our members and all pilots should avoid those pitfalls in the future. We recently came out with an early analysis series where within a day or two of a really high-profile accident, we don't try to speculate about exactly what happened in that accident, but it's easy enough just to talk about common scenarios in that sort of an accident. This is what it's likely to be, one of these couple different scenarios, so just think about it next time that you fly. So certainly the Air Safety Institute has a lot to do with it. But people have said, are there fewer accidents because people are flying less? It's exactly the opposite. Flying did really well. Pilots continued to fly during the pandemic, and that activity has actually picked up in 2021, 2022, and 2023. We're flying more than ever, but having fewer accidents and especially fewer fatalities. So it's an awareness factor, and I think people are just paying attention to the safety messages out there.
And there's definitely been some advances in technology too that sort of help. It's funny because some pilots it's a transition, but at the end of the day, there's definitely a lot of information available to you in flight.
Absolutely, and one of the ones that jumps to mind for me is certainly ADS-B. Right. There was a 2020 mandate that all pilots flying in certain highly regulated airspace have ADS-B. Many bemoaned
yes,
the notion of having to equip, and we get that. AOPA we were sensitive to the fact that it was more money and you had to equip. But what I think many of us realized very, very quickly is when you can see where every other airplane near you is, their altitude, their speed, their direction, it's been an incredible safety flight advantage during the day, during the night, just the situational
sort of awareness of the
thank you.
space. Yeah.
Is what thank you for that is really heightened.
Yeah.
And and also weather. That's another thing that has been brought into our cockpit, which has made a significant difference.
Absolutely. I want to talk to you about You Can Fly. Tell me about this program.
Yeah. Well, You Can Fly has been around for 6 or 7 years, and it's really all about creating the next generation of pilots and keeping the current generation of pilots flying.
Yeah.
So we have 4 distinct programs. We do have a high school STEM aviation curriculum, and today that's being taught in over 400 high schools. There are 15,000 students who are participating in that from 9th grade to 12th grade. That's ramped up so quickly. Next year we're going to have over 500 schools. They think that it might even be over 600 schools in the next calendar year, and quickly over 20,000 students. So the speed that's being adopted is even, surprised and impressed us, but we want to keep that going. We want, frankly, every high school in America to have an aviation STEM curriculum. So that, that's part of creating pilots or creating those who are interested in aviation. We also have scholarships that students or teachers actually can apply for and potentially win. We've given away over 500 scholarships in the last few years.
Wow.
And that's everything from primary training to advanced certificates to, as I said, teachers learning to fly. So that's really amazing. And then we have a Rusty Pilots program, where pilots who, like me, so I learned to fly in college in 1988. When I had my son in 2003, I went almost 15 years without flying. So I became a really rusty pilot. But AOPA can help pilots get comfortable, get back into the left seat and fly again. And we've had, I think, over 12,000 pilots go through that course and are flying again. And then lastly, You Can Fly has a flying clubs program, because access to aircraft, especially when you get your pilot certificate.
I'm feeling this right now.
Yeah. If you can't afford to buy an airplane right away, and most can't, or if you don't have access to rent at your FBO, getting connected with a flying club so that you can fly, sharing the airplane with other pilots, being in a community with other pilots is super critical. So that is really what we're doing with the AOPA You Can Fly. And importantly, that whole program is not funded by membership dues. It's totally funded by the AOPA Foundation. Those are all donations into that good work.
It's really wonderful, too, because it also provides a framework for flying clubs where you can establish the contracts and the understanding of it with the support, the knowledge that you already have, so that you, as 4 like-minded individuals, don't have to reinvent the wheel. The support through AOPA
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And there's not only one way to establish a flying club.
Yeah.
And so we've certainly learned that. And I think we've helped over 212 flying clubs become formed over the last several years.
One of the things I want to talk to you about, next year for Sun and Fun, it's a very big year. It's our 50th. 2024 for AOPA. Tell me about it.
2024 is significant for us because we were formed in 1939, and that's 85 years of advocating for general aviation and pilots and preserving your freedom to fly. So we've got to make a big deal out of that. So we're going to have some special events. I can't really say exactly what they are right now.
Just tell me a little something. Come on, just a little something. I know.
There could be some formation flying involved.
Love this for us.
Some big flying involved, and so it's going to be about community gathering with our members and gathering with, as I said, not just our members, all pilots, anybody who is an aviation enthusiast is who we want to talk to and work for.
Kollin Stagnito with AOPA, thank you for making the time and coming and joining us here in the Sun and Fun studio. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Steph. Appreciate it.
Everyone, you have been watching Sun and Fun Aerospace Expo TV. Thanks for tuning in.